Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun, and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations, my creative brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Not Real Art podcast, where we celebrate creative culture and the artists who make it. I'm your host, Sourdough, coming to you from Crew West Studio in Los Angeles. Man, do we have a cool program for you all today. I have no doubt you will learn, grow, and be inspired by today's show. Before we get into our main event, I want to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode and subscribe. Your likes and follows help ensure you won't miss any of our new shows, and it makes the algorithm gods happy, which helps us. So thanks for that. Also, be sure to visit our website, notrealart.com. Sign up for our newsletter to keep your finger on the pulse of everything we're doing here at Not Real Art for artists and art lovers. A lot of great stuff there. On the website, you'll get free educational videos. You can sign up for our artist grant for the chance to receive $2,000. You can buy affordable original and contemporary art through our partnership with Sugar Press. And you can become a supporter through Patreon if you want. So be sure to check out our website today for all the good, healthy stuff we got for you. Now, like I was saying, you're really going to appreciate today's main event. Our special guest is visual artist MonaLisa Whitaker. Not only is MonaLisa an amazing artist and human being, she's one of our judges for our 2021 artist grant. In fact, she was a judge last year for our 2020 grant, and she did such a great job. We wanted her to come back and help us again this year. So I'm super grateful to MonaLisa for coming back and stoked that she's doing it again. MonaLisa works in photography and mixed media. I mean, her CV is long and impressive, and you're going to hear all about it. So I won't go into it now. I definitely encourage you all to check her out online at MonaLisaWhitaker.com, MonaLisaWhitaker.com, MonaLisaWhitaker.com. Check her out. But you're going to love this conversation. She's just so generous, just such a warm human being, so smart, so talented. And I'm stoked about her being, as I said, being a judge this year for our grant, because we have a record turnout this year with our grant. We've grown 250% over last year with our applications for our grant. I mean, we launched the grant 2 years ago. This is our third year, and the growth has been phenomenal. So stay tuned for the winners. We're going to announce the winners June 15th. The month of May, Mona and Lisa and I are going to be working together a lot in reviewing the several hundred applications that we've received, which is going to be great. So without further ado, let's get into this and hear from the one and only MonaLisa Whitaker. MonaLisa Whitaker, welcome to the Not Real Art podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
This is so great. You're classing up the joint. Like usually we're rough and tumble over here. I mean, we don't get really smart, classy, cool people. No offense to our previous guests. But I'm so grateful to have you on. I mean, obviously you and I go back a bit. You've been a judge and are a judge for our annual grant. And part of the reason why we're so honored and grateful to have you as a judge is because of your like amazing CV and your illustrious career and your deep roots in the arts and your great body of work. And so, I'm just honored to call you my colleague. And can I call you my friend too? Will you claim me?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we're friends. I love it. Well, part of the reason why we're friends is because we have a mutual friend, the one and only Man One. That's
Yes.
and he's the linchpin here in terms of bringing us together. And, I know how I met Man One, but I don't know how you met Man One. What's the connection? How did you guys connect?
How did I first meet Man One? I don't exactly remember. I know it's probably at least 20 years or so. I met him
Right?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, geez, I can't even
The
remember.
time flies.
Yeah, I remember when he opened Crew West when it was in Alhambra. And then I remember him moving to Winston Street in LA, but I can't remember what year it was, but I love graffiti artists and, he was doing his thing. And at some point, when I was running, well, let me just back up for a second. I was running an arts nonprofit called Inglewood Cultural Arts. I was the executive director for about 20 years. In that role, I was able to hire artists for different opportunities. And so Man One did a live painting for the commemoration. It was like the 100-year commemoration of, no, it wasn't that. I'm sorry. It was the Helen Lundeberg mural had been restored. It's a WPA mural from 1940 that was restored here in Inglewood. And as part of that restoration, the city did a bunch of like did a big celebration to mark that. And so I said, it would be really cool to show the contrast between like the petrochrome murals from 1940 and the current style, which is using aerosol, which I didn't call it. I made a point to not call it spray paint. I made sure to use aerosol because you know
That's
how
right.
chaos would
Words
ensue.
matter. Words matter.
So Man did a live painting as part of that event. And from what I understand, one of the staff people still has that piece at her house.
Right
So
on.
yeah. So I think that didn't answer your question. I don't remember how I met him. But I will say when he had the gallery in Alhambra, me and a few other friends would always go to the openings, and I met a bunch of other artists, and I remember working with him helping do installations or transporting artwork. I remember working with Vile from time to time and doing different activities with his gallery. And
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
following him ever since, and
Sure. Sure.
yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because first of all, if you worked, I think you said 20 years at the Inglewood Cultural Arts Center. Is that what you
Almost 20
said? I
years.
mean, 20
Almost
years.
20.
I mean, how old were you when you started working? 10? Like, I mean, you barely look 20 or
Oh,
30.
no,
Like,
no, no.
you got 20 years under in one job already you've retired from.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right. It's like I read that in your bio. It's like, oh, I've
Mhm.
retired. I'm like, look, retired. You look like you're 20. What the hell are you doing? It's amazing.
It's funny because I'm well over 45. Well, not well over, but I'm over 45.
I'm 50, by the way, just so you know.
Oh,
Like I'm
okay,
50, so
okay.
you probably I'm probably a lot older than you, but I'm just saying, like to work 20 years to be, and I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I can't even believe I'm 50. Like where did the time
Yeah,
go?
I know. The other thing that I did around the time that I started with Inglewood Cultural Arts was I got involved with a group called the LA Collective. It's also known
Hmm.
as the Collective, and we're in the midst of being part of an exhibit with Love's Remedies. It's a micro resident artist residency downtown with Art Center, the
Okay.
downtown LA location. And
Yeah.
so we just submitted some artwork for that event. But in 2019, the LA Collective, we celebrated our 20 years since the organization was founded.
Yeah.
And I was looking back at some of the materials and I said, what? 20 years?
Yeah.
It just went by so fast. It went by
It
so,
does,
so
man. It does.
fast.
I actually had dinner with somebody last night. Not dinner. We had tacos at a truck. But the point is that which was dinner. But COVID safe, whatever. And he was saying to me, he goes, he's like, yeah, he's like, 2020 went by so fast. I was like, that's saying something, right? Because 2020 was like a hell of a year, and for him to say that it went by fast, I was like, because that's what time does. Like in the moment, it can feel long, but it goes by so fast. I mean, tell me about the work that you did there, at the Cultural Arts Center, because, after 20 years, I know, you must be so proud of the work you did there and the programs and what have you. So take us through that journey a little bit because that was super important work.
Okay. Well, one thing I'll start with is I actually got the connection to Inglewood Cultural Arts because of the work that I was doing with LA Collective.
Hmm.
And before the LA Collective, I was doing work with an organization called Black Gallery, which was
Hmm.
in what's called Santa Barbara Plaza. It's near the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. I don't know what the new name is now,
Yeah, yeah, right. Okay.
but there was a little strip mall area where there was a gallery called Black Gallery, and they focused on Black photographers. And so I was a young whippersnapper at the time. I volunteered to help out there, and I met a lot of other Black photographers because there's not many of us.
Medium. Yeah, right.
And through that connection, I met Michael Massenberg, Michael Massenberg is a public artist. He's done a lot of murals here in Inglewood and for Metro. And so he's a founder of the LA Collective, and he's also a founder of Inglewood Cultural Arts. And so he recommended me for the position with Inglewood Cultural Arts. And I started as the artistic director, helping the executive director at the time, who's a
Hmm.
woman named Gina Lamb. And so one of the first things I did was send out information for calls for work, particularly public art. And so that was
Hmm.
like, I did not know such a thing existed. I mean, I seen public art around, in my life, but I didn't understand it. I didn't have a connection to it. I knew it was there, but I didn't know how it came
Right.
about. And
Yeah.
so
It's just there. It's just part of the scenery. Yeah.
yeah, and it was really wonderful to see all of the materials come in and people's narrative and their work samples about, oh, this is what I propose for the project. And since then, I've seen so many different versions and managed different programs, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. But it started off, my work with ICA started the first thing I did was help send out the calls for artists for one of the projects, which was the temporary artwork project, and then we
Hmm.
did one for permanent murals, which are still up. So this is all in the year 2000.
Yeah. Right.
And over the course of the time I was with Inglewood Cultural Arts, we did a number of other large scale murals. We did Afro Latin Festival at Centinela Park, otherwise known as Vincent Park here in Inglewood. And we did an artist mentorship program with youth. So we
Hmm.
paired, I'm sorry, four artists with each artist had a pair, or in one case, one artist had three students working with them so they could learn about pursuing the arts as a career path.
Yes.
So that was the last project that we did before I retired. So
Got
that's
it.
in a
Yeah.
nutshell. But the thing that I need to mention, the thing that I'm most proud of with the work that I did with Inglewood Cultural Arts is advocating for artists, because one of the Inglewood Cultural Arts came out of the Cultural Arts Master Plan that the city of Inglewood did. It's like in the mid 90s.
Okay.
And what they did was they gathered artists who lived here in Inglewood and community members. Everybody came together, did a big focus group, and said, "Hey, what do you want for the arts?" And so
Yeah.
that master plan was drawn up, and it was used as some of the founding documents, so to speak, or points of
Hmm.
reference for Inglewood Cultural Arts. And so when I came on and I read that, I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. We got to do this." And so one of the things that I did was to make it a point to advocate for the Artist Live Work passage and the Percent for the Arts program that's here in Inglewood. And
Hmm.
so the Live Work ordinance took 10 years
Yep.
because the city was dragging its feet
Oh yeah.
on, pushing through things. But it finally got passed. So now if an artist lives and works in their space, then they could apply for the zoning overlay. But then because the city took so long to pass it, now there's all these extras. So I don't know so far I don't know who has applied for it, but it's there in case people need it. And then the other thing is the Percent for the Arts passage. So any development over $250,000, 1% has to go towards the arts. And so that program is alive and well and flourishing. And I don't know how many of the folks listening know of all the developments that are going on here in Inglewood.
Oh yeah,
But
bittersweet, bittersweet.
each one, some of that money is going towards the arts. So I'm really
Yeah,
happy about that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's a bittersweet issue, isn't it? I mean, that the development, and and it's great that the arts are getting funded that way, but it's also sad that people are getting priced out of their homes.
Oh, that is an understatement. Yes. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. But I do know that there are folks here in Inglewood that are trying their best to, make their feelings known about the
Mhm.
developments and the speed and the fact that a lot of people are, going to be, priced out and have to find some other place to live because it's going to get to be too expensive here. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, by the way, in that story, you mentioned somebody who I just am honored to know as well, and have worked with him, and just think of him as being one of the most wonderful, beautiful humans I know. But Mr. Massenberg, what an awesome dude!
He is. He is. Yeah, I've known him for like more than 20 years now. Whew, yeah. We've worked on many, many projects together. And he's another great person that he's an artist. He's a visual artist, a public artist, but he's also a very strong advocate for the arts, for other artists, for youth, and he always tries to connect people with opportunities.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a really cool thing about
That's
him.
yeah, that's his thing. And I'm just realizing that he hasn't been on the podcast either, which, I'm a bad friend. I got to reach out to him, get his ass on the podcast because I've known him too long. I guess that's why, what speaks to his humanity that he would put up with my shit like that, because I don't know that, other people would like be so patient, but yeah, I got to get him. I got to get him on here. He's fantastic. So why photography, Mona Lisa? And by the way, Mona Lisa, how did you end up with like the name as an artist? Like, was your mom like a huge fan of the Mona Lisa painting? Like, what's the story there?
Okay. Well,
I know you're probably sick of this question, but I'm sorry, we got to ask.
no, it's okay. I'm just glad you didn't sing because I've had so many times where people sang to me and they were off key.
Oh, jeez.
So, but my name came about because my mom had a friend in high school with the name. And so I'm her firstborn. And my mom
Oh, sweet.
really she liked to draw
Uh
and
huh.
paint. And so
Yeah.
she said, "Oh, okay, that's going to be
So
my first gift to you."
she honored her friend.
Yes, yes,
No,
yes,
that's beautiful.
yes,
That's
yes,
fantastic. And by
yeah.
the way, I totally understand you about the singing thing, because I happen to be, I was born in Gary, Indiana. And
Ah,
when people hear that I was born in Gary, Indiana, they, of course, want to start singing
yeah.
that song. And I'm just like, no, 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 please stop, stop right there. But we digress. I mean, the real question I wanted to get to was why photography? How photography?
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So this will be public knowledge now, because I think only people who have heard this story, like close family members, and maybe the Fulbright committee, because I think I included in my Fulbright application, but I actually started learning about photography because I wanted to be an archaeologist. Because I've always, always, always loved history and culture. And
Hmm.
so way back when I was in high school, I said, "Oh, I know that, when you're an archaeologist and you're on a dig and, you're going to these different places, you need to document everything. Well, I want to save some money. I want to learn photography. That way I don't have to hire a photographer." So I was like, all right, that's what I'm
How
going to do.
efficient of you.
And so the rest is history, 'cause
Turns out you, yeah,
I didn't know that there was a way. I didn't know at that time that photography could be artistic. I just thought of it as, you know, documenting objects.
sure,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it turns out you like to film better than you like dirt, right? Like
Yes,
you know,
yes.
he's like, wait a minute, I can make photography and not get dirty at the same time. Wow. So that was the pivot. Right on. Right on. I love that. This very efficient, resourceful, cost savings attitude of yours.
Yes, yes. But then when I started studying photography and I discovered, oh, there's all these different types of photography. And, I studied commercial photography and I was interested in that for a minute. But then I was like, ugh, I don't want to deal with the headache of, trying to do big productions and all that. I wasn't interested in that. So
Yeah.
I started looking more into fine art photography because I didn't want anyone telling me what to do.
Yeah.
So
Clients suck.
I don't have to worry about art directors, account executives with ad agencies or anything. I could just do my own thing with fine art photography. So it just stuck. So yeah. So
Right.
I just stuck
Yeah,
with
well, you're speaking to somebody who comes from the commercial art side of things, and I can tell you made the right choice. Clients suck. The business is great if it's not for the clients. It'd be perfect if it wasn't for the clients. Well, that's cool. So, how old were you then when you got your first camera?
probably maybe about 15 or 16, something like that.
Right, right.
I
Do you
think
remember
I
what
was
it
in
was?
high school. I was in high school.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I took I'm a proud alum of Venice High in Venice.
Okay.
Yes.
Woohoo!
The OG Venice, not the new Venice. And my photography instructor was Larry Shapiro. And I was either 15 or 16. And I learned how to, of course, use a camera, develop film, print, all of that good stuff in high school, which kids don't get that opportunity today. So yeah, I think it was about 15 or 16 when I got my first camera.
Yeah, that's great. Do you remember what it was? Was it a Nikon, Minolta, the Yashica,
It was a
Canon?
Yashica. It was a
Yashica?
Yashica. Yes, it
Oh my God.
was. I was
Okay,
so
see, I knew I
happy.
liked you for a reason because
Oh my
my
gosh.
first camera was a Yashica,
Was
and that's
it?
it was. It
Oh,
was.
nice. Nice.
That's
Nice.
why I knew to pull it out. I mean, who knows Yashica?
I know. I was surprised you mentioned. I was like, let's see if he's going to mention it because not many people.
No, it's the story is being from the Midwest and being a kid of the '70s. Kmart was a thing.
Kmart.
And Kmart, and I saved my dad. He had a camera. My dad had a camera, and you want to be like your dad, right? So or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I want a camera. And he's like, well, you gotta if you want a camera, you gotta save your money and buy it yourself. So I was like, okay, game on. And he took me to Kmart, and there was a camera. Back in the day, they had a camera, department, right? And they had a Yashica SLR, 35 millimeter, whatever. It was fixed lens. It wasn't interchangeable lens, and I put it on layaway. And it was on layaway for like, I don't know, 6, 8 months or something. I'd go and I'd pay a little $5, a little $10, whatever. Eventually I got it out. So that was special, that meant a lot to me. So yeah, so the fact that your first camera was a Yashica, I mean,
Yes.
like we bonded.
Yes. Oh, yes. I think I used that camera for like 10 or 15 years and I reluctantly bought another camera because, I was like, this one's working fine, but I think I needed a different lens because of whatever I was doing at the time. So I was like, okay. And I still have that Yashica. It's in the cabinet right now in a
Uh,
box.
lucky you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what
Oh
happened to
yeah.
mine. I'm so bummed, but
Yeah.
that's so great that you have it. Do you ever pull it out and use it?
No, not yet. Well, actually, I started looking at all my cameras and thinking, oh, it would be nice to actually shoot a roll of film rather than doing digital stuff because I prefer film, but I know it's hard to, get it processed and printed and everything today compared to before. But I just pulled out some of my cameras probably about a couple months ago. So I'm trying to figure out what going to shoot first because I have 35 millimeters and I have a 2.25 Kowa camera, which I love.
Oh wow.
So I'll probably shoot the Kowa first though, because I haven't shot that in a while. but that's
Well,
my
you're next
favorite.
level now because I mean, you're shooting on like bizarre substrates and incorporating, like super interesting materials into your process. And, you've grown up. You're way beyond that simple film, 35 millimeter Yashica camera.
That's true, but I don't the thing that has been hard for me is getting caught up with the current technology. So I remember, and I know I'm going to age myself. I remember back in the day sandwiching a negative. Do people even know what that is today?
You know what?
No.
I'm not sure I know. So break it down for us right
You
now. Sandwiching
basically
the negative.
you basically take two negatives and put them together on the negative holder before you print. So you're
Hmm.
basically getting two images onto one. Now you
Right.
can do the same thing with
Layer
in
it up.
Photoshop
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
layers.
Right. Yeah.
Ah,
Right. No,
it's
fuck that shit.
it's
This is analog.
blasphemy. It's
You're right.
blasphemy.
Right. Oh, the craft. You gotta know the
You
craft,
have to go
man.
through the
Yeah.
process
Yes.
of
Yes.
putting the negatives together, being slightly off, being mad at yourself because it wasn't exact, and
That's a time
printing it,
commitment, man. And money. Yeah, time and money,
Yes.
man. That takes time and money to fuck that up.
Yes. But there are mistakes that you learn that you
Yes. Yes.
benefit from later. And
Yes.
now
Totally.
today it's not so much, you can, damn, I messed up. You can fix it really quick. So I don't think you learn as well, in my biased opinion. I don't think people learn as much today with the tools they're using as they could using analog photography.
Well, right. And they don't have the context and the history, and they may not appreciate that, like what layers really means, right? Like what the value that layers really created for people who remember what the old analog process was like, like I don't know, like having that history and that context is, I think, important on a lot of levels, right?
But also, like, do people, like you can print something from your computer, but the newer generations, they don't know the smell of film and
Right.
developer
Yes.
and the chemicals
Yes.
and the
Yes.
fix and tongs. And there's such a
Like, what,
tactile
putting the
quality
film
that's
in the
missing.
canister in the dark, right? Like trying to
Yes.
get that shit
Yes.
right without in the dark,
Yes. Yes. And being really angry because you're like, damn, I know I got that shot on that last roll and I just messed it up when I was putting it on the reel.
Totally.
You know, they don't have that today. So,
Not at all, man. Yeah. Wow. Well, so, one of the things that I think is really, well, special, powerful, interesting about your work is this kind of focus on what you call like the individual search for divine connection. So, talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, why the focus on the divine? I mean, why, like, and where do we find these connections? Where do you go to find these connections? I mean, obviously, I've looked at your work, I've seen your work, and we'll encourage people to check it out online at the end of the podcast. But take us through your journey a little bit. Like, how did you end up with this passion for seeking the divine connections in your work?
well, it had to do, there was a comment that my now late grandmother, made to me about my first daughter, which was, she said that she needs to be baptized or else she's going to go to hell when she dies.
Wait, we had the same grandmother?
I was like, no, I can't have that happen. I got to do something. So I said, all right, well, if I want to make sure my daughter doesn't go to hell, I'm going to choose the right religion for her.
Yes, yes, because there's
I'm going to
only
choose the
one right
right one.
one.
And so I said, okay, well, how do I choose the right one? Okay, let me find out about all the ones that people talk about. And so I'm an avid reader. And so one of my favorite places in the world is the library. So I started checking out books about the different religions around the world. And one of the things that I found was, regardless of what religion you're talking about, the essence of each religion is very true and pure, which is don't kill anybody, treat each other well, be a good human. period. It's fairly
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that has happened, unfortunately, is people have misinterpreted or used some of the intent behind the religions for pretty destructive purposes. So you'll have someone who is Muslim, maybe not being as tolerant of someone who's Jewish, and someone who's Christian who's not as tolerant of someone who's Muslim or Jewish. Then you break down each of the major religions has different. I'll just call them. I don't want to call them fractions, but different. I'll say tentacles. No, that's negative too.
Different
Okay,
flavors,
well,
different flavors,
yeah,
different shades of the same color.
different shades. Yes, that's perfect. Yes, different shades.
Let's go with that. Okay.
Yeah. So one thing I recognize is one of the things that I came to realize was that all of the religions, they have the same intent. It's just the matter of how, the particular religion chooses to go about, achieving that particular purpose. And so
Yeah.
I haven't put it up on my website because I need to redo the piece, but I have a fairly large piece. It's like 4 feet by 6 feet piece called Which Path. And it's like the foundation is a tree, and at the end of each branch is an image representing each of the five major religions. And
Mm-hmm.
the idea is that we have a commonality in terms of us being of the earth and branching out to connect to a higher power. And the
Mm-hmm.
way or which path a person takes, it might diverge, but the base is the same,
Yeah.
and so
Love that.
that's where that comes from. I know it's a
Mhm.
weird kind of it's a weird long-winded answer, but yeah, that's it.
No, I mean, but I, by the way, shout out to your grandma too, because it's interesting because you didn't say that she tried to get you to like baptize in her religion. Maybe she did, but then you went on this journey. So, how do you categorize yourself today as a spiritual person?
I practice African traditional religion,
Hmm.
and in that practice we are tolerant of all other religions. We don't proselytize. We don't try to convert anyone, in any way. It's just not something that it's not necessary for us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on religion.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I classify as a born again pagan.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
this is this is my
I
thing.
like that.
But well, that's a beautiful thing. So then, like, so talk a little bit more about how this pursuit comes to life in your work, and talk a little bit about the work. Some of the you just mentioned this one piece, but what's some of the work that you've got in the kitchen right now? Some things that we can look forward to from you in the next year.
Well, the one that I'm working on now is about moments in life. And it doesn't really have anything to do with what happened last year because I actually started this project, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago or so. But the question is, how do people measure a moment in life? They say that when a person passes away, their life flashes before their eyes. And
Hmm.
so I said, well, I wonder what do people see? What would someone remember? What will be that light that flashes? What will be that memory that flashes before their eyes? So
Right.
I started a series a few years ago focusing on the senses, particularly the sense of taste. But now I'm working out the logistics of figuring out how to capture something like a hug, because now we can't really hug anymore, right?
Right.
But I got to figure out how to do that. But, when the time comes for someone to take their last breath, what do they see? What do they remember? Is it their first kiss? Is it their first orgasm? Is it an argument they had with their boss? Is it lovemaking? Is it a hug from your child? So that's the project I'm working on now and trying to figure out how to realize it. I actually proposed it for a variation of it for the city of Inglewood. I was a finalist for their artists in community NEA grant this past December, and the idea was to take, because it was like I said, it was a variation for the city of Inglewood, and because Inglewood is changing so much, the idea was to have people reflect on what they remember about Inglewood because it's changing so fast. So there would be a 6-foot canvas, and there would be an outline of the shape of Inglewood, and the people would give me their, what their memories are, what they wanted to represent, and I would create those in image transfers, and then it would be a virtual interactive
Mhm.
kind of workshop. But there was another person selected for it, but it's part of an ongoing project
Yeah.
series I was doing anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm just doing it on my own in a different style.
So this begs the question: if you can choose, what do you want your last memory to be?
If I can choose?
If you could choose, as you're going out,
Uh-huh.
your life flashes before your eyes.
Uh-huh.
What do you hope you'll see if you could choose?
Oh, that's too hard. Only one thing. Only one thing?
Well,
Only
I mean,
one thing or
no,
multiple?
it could be a number of things. It could be a medley of things. You know what I mean? Like what do you envision that your vision will be, or what do you hope your vision will be as you transition?
Probably the birth of my children, because I remember that moment very well, as if it just happened, even though they're older. Probably knowing and understanding the love that I have for my husband
Mhm.
will probably be I'll probably see that. And probably I envision a collage of all of the people that I've, been touched by in my life in terms of, they've had some kind of influence, or they helped me learn something, or, we worked together in some way. So I kind of see a collage of
Yeah,
all the people that I know that have.
mixed media.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
I think
yeah,
it'll be something like that. I think it'll be something like that. That's the
yeah. I mean,
answer for now. We'll
right? No,
see.
no, exactly,
Yeah.
right. I mean, like
Because
who
that's the
knows?
thing. That's the thing about the whole idea behind this piece is, what are the moments? Like, okay, I'm saying
Right.
that now, but
Yeah.
in another week or so, I might feel differently because something else may have transpired that, touched me in a way. And I said, oh yeah, I hope, when I'm going out that that I'm able to see that as my last memory.
Right.
When I think in Buddhist beliefs, when I think your last sensation that you have before you die, you carry into the next realm. And so maybe my knowledge of that kind of probably
Mm.
contributed to this
Wow,
idea
that's
because,
interesting because I
you know,
mean, if that's true, I mean, some people go out with some bad sensations. You know what I mean? Or go into like depending on how you die, because like that's my thing. Like I've totally come to terms with the fact that we transition out of this life. Like mortality is our mortality is a fact of life, and death is as natural as birth, and it's as beautiful as birth. It's just I'm cool with the fact that I got to go, but I'm not cool with a lot of ways I might go.
yeah, right,
Right? Because
right,
there are so
right.
many ways to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And that's the problem. It's like we don't know. And it's like, so like clearly I'd love to I'd love to be having sex and, and come and go at the same time, as the old joke says, right? That would be an awesome feeling to transition into the other life. But if I'm scared to death, something literally scares me, I have a heart attack, and I don't want to transition that into, so that's a really interesting notion. I really want to come and go at the same time, Mona Lisa. I really do. I mean, this is but joking aside, that sounds like an amazing body work. How many pieces in the in the series, or like when you, where are you at? Like how many images are you working on for this?
For the sense of taste, that one has 6.
Mm-hmm.
For this one that I'm working on now, I'll say this one has 4, but it might
Mm-hmm.
be, I don't know how many it will have in the end because I'm gonna have to cut it off. I have to like stop. I can't keep, you know, you
Yeah,
can't
right.
just keep going on and on forever. So I'm looking at doing either setting a particular end date or marker for, okay, it's going to be these 6 to represent these moments, and then I'll move on to another phase. But right now it's 4, and I just have to work out if I'm going to do, with the big canvas and all of that stuff. I love working on canvases. I love painting and the tactile quality of painting that you don't necessarily get with photography as much. That's one of the reasons why I became interested in doing the image and emotion transfers in mixed media, because you get to, do more work with your hands, which is what I enjoy doing.
And you mentioned your man. Is he an artist?
No, he actually is an all around awesome, does everything. He trained as an electrician, but he was a performing artist. He
Mm-hmm.
was with a dance group here in LA for I forget how many years. But he's not dancing anymore because when you get older,
Well, the
things
hips.
don't work as much. Yes,
The
the
hips.
hips and the knees and all of that stuff.
But he still got the abs, so that's good.
No,
Um,
he doesn't have abs. He doesn't have abs.
well, isn't it? It's so important, right, to have the right partner in life. Like whoever it is, right, to support you and compliment you. And I always like to shout out to our partners, and because they put up with us, right, and not just put up with us, but propel us. The good ones, when it's right, it's a beautiful thing. So shout out to the partners. Oh
Yes,
my
yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
They
Well,
keep us fed and sane and healthy, right?
how did you guys meet?
We actually met through a mutual friend. Remember I talked about the advocacy around the artist spaces here in Inglewood. There was a building on Warren Lane here in
Mhm.
Inglewood, which is near the Centinela/Vincent Park. And it's a 2-story building that was a former group home that was
Mhm.
purchased by a nonprofit here in Inglewood that wanted to convert it into artist spaces. And so I am the first person who secured a space there. And then later on, a Nigerian filmmaker friend named Toyin, he got a space there and we met. And through him, I met my husband.
Right on.
So it's all
Nice.
interconnected.
Totally, right?
People don't really realize how interconnected our lives are. We're just doing our regular things throughout the day, and we come across people that connect to us in ways that, we don't, I think people don't take the time to realize how connected we are to one another.
I was just having this conversation last night, the magic that is all around that you can't see, certainly if you're not open to see it. But, that interconnectedness that you're talking about is part of that magic, right? And if you are open to seeing it, you can see it, and it is all around. It's amazing how intertwined we are, life is, people are, animals are, the natural ecosystem. And that kind of gets back to religion too, because some religions respect that and honor that, and some religions don't. And, maybe some of the more predominant ones do the most damage to the natural environment because somehow they feel dominion over it versus
Just
honoring it,
respect.
feeling they're a part of it because they respect it and they realize we're all connected. But what do I know? I'm a born again pagan. We've established this.
It's very true. But I think the beautiful thing about our world is we have artists to show people how
Yes.
things are connected. That's one of the wonderful things about being alive today. We have a lot more access to information and ways to share imagery and thoughts. And, we didn't have that, you know, 30 years ago the way we have it today. So I'm thankful for that. I just hope that people take more time to, pay attention to it because,
Yes.
as you can see, based on what happened last year, we need one another more
Yes.
than maybe people previously wanted to acknowledge.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Well, that's
going
the thing.
forward, people will take those learnings into account
Yes.
and do what's necessary to stay connected to one another.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and I agree with you. I mean, I hope. I mean, I feel like 2020, but for a lot of people, some of us maybe respected and we're aware of the fragility of life and how vulnerable we really all are and how we need each other, so on and so forth. But for a lot of people, 2020 was a sucker punch in the universe sucker punched them for the first time, right? And they maybe woke up to how fragile we all are, and part of the reason why maybe they didn't realize it or whatever was because we don't maybe have spiritual mentors in our lives. And artists are spiritual mentors. I mean, they can be, and many are. And if you choose to think about it that way and think of art as could it be portals to a different kind of truth and a different kind of wisdom and a different kind of to me the power of artists and art it is certainly some right because things that are sacred to me and artists and art are sacred to me because I do think of artists as largely angels among us. Some of them are devils. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, man. I mean, like I agree with you. I feel like that is a really important role that artists can take on to help us see the spiritual side of life.
Definitely. Yeah. But there's always life is about balance. And even though artists do can show things, there are, for people to be aware of, there are artists who totally take advantage of it and abuse it and misuse it. But that's just part of, life in general. There's always a positive and a negative,
Yeah,
you know.
right. That's right.
So I'm not naming names, but
Man one, man one. We're not mentioning any names, man one. MonaLisa Whitaker, you are such a blessing. I'm so grateful to know you and have you as part of our little family, our little Not Real Art family. You're a friend, you're a colleague, but you're also, helping us again this year with the Not Real Art grant. And we've already got the deadlines May 1. We already have 40 submissions and we just opened it up. So we expect we'll be getting a lot more over the next few weeks. And I'm just so happy that we were able to sit down today. Will you come back in the future? Did I scare you away, or will you come back?
Oh, I'll definitely come back. Yes.
Oh, whew.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Man
yes,
won't fire me now.
definitely.
That's good. So, but before we go, be sure. So, where can people find you online?
Oh, okay. So I do have a website. It's being updated, which I guess I need to put that a banner on my
Every
website.
artist, by the way, virtually every artist always says that. They say, "Well, it's being updated." So
Well, because
I love
you
it.
know why? But here's the thing, because you want to make sure that you're trying to find a balance between having older work up and newer work because you don't know who's looking at your website,
Sure, sure,
but and then you don't want to have anything up that isn't really truly representative of your work.
sure.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
my website is www.monalisawhitaker.com
And that's
and
WHITAKER.
Taker.
Yes.
Yes, one T, one
One
T.
T, people.
Yes, there's one T. And I can tell you there's one T because in my family, my father told me that at one point, our family was owned by Whitakers with 2 T's, and so once we were freed, we dropped the additional T.
Well, that is both a heartbreaking and beautiful story all at once. You can how far can you trace? So can you, I mean, clearly you can trace your lineage back to slavery. Like how far can, like, what do you have specific stories and can you, it sounds like your grandfather or somebody in your family really took the time to map that out and track that history.
Oh, no, they didn't take time to map it out. It's just no, they weren't that organized.
This is family stories over the
Yeah.
Christmas dinner party or whatever, right?
This
Okay.
is just, more oral histories and
Yeah, yeah.
me just trying to make sure that other family members know the history. So,
Mhm.
I'm not sure how far what century it goes to. I would say, like, maybe 18 probably 1870 or 1880, something
Mhm.
around there. So I can go back that far on my father's side. On my mother's side, not so much.
For any listeners whose last name is Whitaker with two T's, you got some praying, you got some redemption. Yeah, you better get to church real.
Right.
Yeah, and then some, and then
Right.
some. Oh my gosh. So I'm sorry, I'm being a goof. It's Friday afternoon, like we're ready for the weekend and whatnot. But so that was the website. Are you on social? Do you have Twitter or Instagram or anything like that?
I am not on Twitter. I need to update my phone to reload the Instagram app. You're gonna have to cut that out.
By the way, no. You know why? Because good for you. Good for you.
Because the thing is, so here's the thing. I have a small iPhone. I refuse to buy the newer one.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have the first generation iPhone SE, which I love because it's
Yeah,
small.
yeah. You love it.
And, you know, I love it, but then I started having problems. I made the mistake or not, I don't know. Jury's still out on
Yeah,
updating the operating system, and now I'm having
right.
problems with the damn apps.
Yeah, no, that's how they get you. Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully that'll pan out. I mean, the other way they get most of us, though, which is interesting, because I wonder if you're vulnerable. I suspect you're not vulnerable to this, because of course they always upgrade the camera. It's like, oh, better photos, better this, better that. And that always ends up being like the exciting part of the new phone. And I know it always sucked with me, but I mean, being a professional photographer, artist, photographer, you're probably like, no, I don't, I got my own gear, I got my own process. Like, I don't need your smart camera, you know?
Yeah, and the thing that's kind of annoying to me about that is so many people say, "Oh, I'm a photographer," because they have the camera on their
I
phone.
know, I
It's
know,
like,
I know.
"No, you're
No,
not." If
no,
you haven't spent hours in the dark trying to load a load
yes,
a
yes,
roll of film or
yes.
print and smell the chemicals and all of that, if you haven't done that, you can't call yourself a photographer
You
in
know,
my book, but that's just me.
it's interesting, right? So, like, I think about that a lot too, actually, because I'm guilty, right? Guilty as charged, taking, all kinds of photos. I mean, I feel, because I have been in the dark room and I have, done a lot of this, I cut myself a little bit of slack. I do, but here's the point. Like, I do realize that majority, 90% of the photos I'm taking, I'm never going to look at again. I'm not going to see, like, they're just in the cloud or they're on the drive and they're just probably going to be lost forever or whatever. That being said, there have been many times when I was grateful that I did that, because I was able to go back and maybe I needed like a pseudo kind of image for a project, like a stock image. I'm shooting a lot of like random, like shock kind of stock photo kind of stuff, but it's mine, right? So anyway, the point is that I think about that. You think about the fact that, of course, I'm not unique. Billions of people now are doing the same thing. So you have billions of people who are polluting. I mean, like, we're littering. Basically, we're creating a carbon footprint of data, because a photo has a carbon footprint, right? And so we're polluting because we're not going to use it again. It's creating some digital, I mean, some damage to the environment on some level, right? But I mean, then I was like, what's the second life here? What's the here? And I got to believe, right? If you think about where supercomputing is going and AI and all this, that at some point they'll be able to synthesize all of these photographs across any number of metadata, so time, location, whatever, and they'll be able to animate it. And like I see these like movies being created through time and space where these photos get used, not by us, by some person in the future, some supercomputer, where they're trying to show the history of mankind through the photos that we've all taken. Now, maybe that's my romantic spin on things. Maybe this is me, but I don't know. It's kind of cool.
I don't know. It's it sounds very likely
It
because
seems
when
possible, right?
yeah, but I don't know. The worry for me is how much all of the image and data collection that's going on with the new technologies. I worry that it's pushing people further apart,
Oh, yeah, sure.
because we need to see each other and touch each other and hug each other and be in each other's presence and feel the warmth of our skin, and just touch is so important. And it seems like the way the new technologies are going, it seems like it's pointing more towards the AI, VR, AR, all of that.
Yep, yep.
And it's almost like a creating humans will be the avatar. It seems like that. That's
Right,
what it
right.
I mean, that's not a copyright infringement or anything. It's just, it feels like the speed at which things are going in terms of image and data collection, that will be the avatars,
Right, right.
in a minute. And all the things that, like so many people say, look where I am, I'm doing this, or, like the Instagram, kids doing the photos of what they're eating and things like that. Before
Yeah, yeah,
long, that will cease to exist. It'll just
yeah.
be an image and not the actual thing. And
Right,
that's the
right.
worry for me. Just hoping for folks to realize, before it's too late, because we still need one another very much in person,
Yeah.
touching and feeling and exchanging bodily fluid safely.
You know
It
what? I tell my wife this all the time, and she just tells me to get lost. Like, I don't know, like, will you talk to her, please? Like, but honey, we need to touch and we need to exchange bodily fluid safely. Get out of here. I'm working. But I agree. You are so right. I'm going to tell her to call you. You better talk to MonaLisa.
we need it. We need it. We
You
need
need
it.
it. It's life. It's life.
Yes. Yes.
And MonaLisa, you are life. Thank you so much
Thank you. Thank you.
for sitting down and playing podcasts with us today.
Thank
You
you.
have
I
you have
enjoyed
a
it.
beautiful weekend. What will you be doing this weekend? Will you be in the studio? Will you be with the family? Like what? A little bit of both.
I don't want to do anything.
Good for you.
I'm going to take a break. I had this, allergic reaction to some insect bite, and it's like
Oh, right. You told me about
exhausting
that.
me. So I'm just
Did the
gonna.
Benadryl wear off yet?
It did, and I had to take some more, and I'm like, ugh, I think I'm gonna have to take some more after this. So
Oh, it's really bad.
yeah, yeah. That's why I'm like, all right, hopefully you can't. I know this. They won't see my face, but hopefully, like, you can't see how much my face was.
Oh, you got bit on the face even.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, I'm so sorry.
So you
And
see
you have
how the
no
light
clue.
is not very good. You
Well,
can't see my.
I mean, if you're prettier than this under normal circumstances, like wow, okay, that's cool. But you got bit on, but you have no clue what the bug was. You don't know what it was.
No, I don't. I
So
don't.
bizarre.
So I'll be recuperating.
Well,
Just
so I'll share this with you because it's germane to the topic. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Well, you're in Inglewood, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're up here in Encino. Okay. So here's the deal. So in Encino, what happened like 2 years ago, we started getting these bites. and we didn't know like what they were. We couldn't see a bug. We didn't, and my son was like getting like really like allergic reactions, like really bad. Long story short, I started doing research, and there was an invasive species of mosquito that came in with a shipment through the port of Long Beach. And
Oh,
this
okay.
mosquito turns out loves Southern California. And it just loves the climate. And it's been
Oh.
moving up, and it's now up into Santa Barbara even. And I don't know if it's down by you or whatever. Apparently it came through the Long Beach port. Somebody was asleep at the wheel or whatever, didn't do their job, and this invasive mosquito came through. And they're called ankle biters because they tend to fly low and bite the lower part of your leg. But the other thing is they're like all day mosquitoes. Like it's not like mosquitoes that I grew up with back east where it's like, oh, they come out at night or they're, whatever. So I don't know. Like I just share with you because if my son is having bad allergic reaction to the mosquito bite, and I just wonder if that was what bit you, because you didn't see it either, right? It was like
No,
you
I
didn't
didn't see
feel it,
it.
you didn't see it. Yeah.
No, I don't think it was an ankle biter because my husband, he was like about 2 years ago, like you said, he was at his warehouse doing some work and he started getting these bites and we couldn't see anything. Exactly what you
That's
described
what
is
it
what
was. That's
happened.
what it
And they
was. The ankle
those
biter
things are
mosquito.
horrible.
Yeah, they're
Horrible.
also called ninja mosquitoes because you can't see them, you can't feel them, and again, I'm going to say this only because it's a fact,
Mhm.
but I know we're living in politically sensitive times.
Mhm.
Apparently, the species is originated from China. It came over from a shipment from China, apparently. So I say that with a bit of caution because, of course, I know we're in sensitive times. But the fact is, it's a species that's not indigenous to Southern California. It is a mosquito, and it's biting people in the lower leg. So I'm sure that
Mhm.
that's what your man was experiencing.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
not, that's not good. It's not. Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
MonaLisa Whitaker, you have a beautiful weekend, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for Not Real Art and Crew West for inviting me. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to, you know, being one of the judges on the panel and seeing what the artists are up to these days. Because I really enjoyed being part of the panel last year. So I'm looking forward to it again this year, and hopefully, by the time we get through the cycle and everything, we'll be able to gather and, the awardees will be able to be presented in person.
I know. Yeah,
Here's
no, that's
hoping,
right. We
you know?
hope because they deserve it, and we want to give them a real
Yeah.
show. But yeah, it was a strong showing last year. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that this year is equally as strong, if not bigger and better, and we'll look forward to that. But again, my friend, great seeing you. Thanks so much
You
for
too.
being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ciao for now.
All right. Ciao for
Bye.
now. Have a good one.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode, write a review, and share with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please press the subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Not Real Art World.